obviously a tough second half, and Michigan State, congratulate them on the win. Tough loss for us, and come back in tomorrow, regroup, and move forward.
Can you talk about how physical that game was? You had a lot of injuries, and do any of them appear to be the kind of injuries that can linger at all?
Yeah, if there's good news, the bad news certainly is we had a lot of guys that had to come out of the game. The good news is it looks like thus far at least everything's pretty minor. So hopefully by the week probably comes at a good time. Hopefully all those guys will be back.
How are Wiseman and Martin Manley in particular?
They're fine. I mean, couldn't play effectively, but nothing long term.
What happened with the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty? What was kind of the discussion thing, or the referee third quarter
on the bench?
Yeah. I'm sorry, on the Iowa bench.
One of our coaches, did that with his headset. Unfortunately, half of his headset flew out in the air. He did not throw it, but was snapping it down like that. So.
Did you think you'd
not
see?
Fit into the game, I guess it fit right on a few other things.
Coach, I'm sorry. Did you think you would see your running game kind of be stopped like that in a game?
Not to that extent. I don't know what we ended up with, but it wasn't significant, obviously. But they're we knew they were a tough team to run the ball against. They have been that way for quite some time. And to try to move the ball on them effectively, you got to be mixed and balanced. And it was tough sledding out there. And then obviously in the second half, or last quarter, we didn't have much opportunity there.
You guys got hurt again by a fake punt. Just talk about that play.
Yeah, we may never try to return one again. It was our thinking, try to get the return, and to their credit, they made a good call, and that cost us a field goal.
Do you think this offense sort of loses an identity when you can't establish the run? Mark Wiseman only got 7 carries.
Well, I think any team's better if they're balanced, and you have to be able to run the ball effectively. Again, we didn't come in thinking we'd get 280 on these guys. That wasn't our thought coming in, but we were hoping that we could run it effectively. But the way they're built, they make it very difficult to do that. They're playing good team defense, period. They did a year ago as well. And so we knew it was going to be a tough challenge. We weren't naive to that by any stretch.
It seemed like things started clicking offensively for you the last half of the second quarter. Was there some adjustment that you made from the bench at the time?
No, not really. No, we just, whatever was our first 5, I think it was 5 possessions. We were 3 and out and a pick. Ball that was underthrown, so we did nothing at all, and then once we got it going a little bit, it was certainly good. And the disappointing part was in the second half we weren't able to do that up until that last possession, but we got nothing established in that second half, basically.
And field position, you couldn't establish that either.
Yeah, they're really, the entire game, there really wasn't anything I didn't think that we did to indicate we were taking control. And outside, like the way we closed that first half, second quarter, that was certainly, looked like we were getting some momentum. That was good. And to their credit, they came out and took the ball and drove it and scored first possession, second half. So we're kind of playing behind in the count most of the game. And fake punt, not only the fake punt, we really didn't get anything out of our special teams in terms of advantage. So that makes it tough.
On that fake punt, did Michigan State do anything like on tape prior to this game that maybe led you to think that they would pull it out in that situation?
Well, historically, they've taken chances in the special teams, taken chances or, run fakes, gadgets, whatever. So that wasn't a surprise at all, and we were aware of that. And I go back to that fake field goal they had on a Saturday night game, big game, where, they would have tied it there in overtime. They got the win. So that was not a surprise, that part of it, but it's a good job on their part. We had a return set up, and they hit us where we were weak.
So when you do have a return set up, how do you defend against a fake punt? Is there a way to do it?
I mean, in theory, you have it defended, but it's, if you got guys turning and blocking, setting up a return, it makes it, you're vulnerable. So maybe it's a moral story, maybe we can't. We were pretty good 2 weeks ago, and then we paid for it today.
Defensively, you guys were really aggressive and got the Cook early. He hit that long ball on the 46-yarder, and maybe, did you guys have to change your approach a little bit, or maybe not attack him?
I don't know about that. We just, we gave up some plays, and that's gonna happen at times. And to their credit, they did a good job throwing and catching. They threw a bunch on them today.
You took momentum in the locker room, Kirk, and then you think that first drive in the third quarter, you were playing on your heels the rest of the way. You could never get close to.
Yeah, it didn't help, and again, it seems like the whole game went that way. Outside of when we scored our second touchdown, then all of a sudden, we had it tipped in our direction. But ideally, in a perfect world, like 3 and out, start the half, and then take the ball and go down and get points again. And we were able to do that, and that's, credit goes to them. They did a good job of snuffing us out in the second half.
You knew Michigan State statistically had a great defense, but physically, what did they bring? What did you see? Did any of what that defense did surprise you in terms of that physical element of it?
No, I don't think anything surprised us. When we played them last year, they were really physical. They're really good on defense, and they graduate some players, but the guys that they've had step in are playing really well. And they've got a couple of veteran guys that play extremely well for them. And our game was a tough one. And, I think they played Michigan the next week last year in a 12-10 game or whatever. So it's not like this never has happened before. These guys play good defense, and it's much been that way. I mean, you go back to 2009, we had a decent ball club, and had a score in the last play of the game. I think there was one offensive touchdown for each team in that game. So it's just been part of the series, and it's not good. Anything catches you off guard, but it's quite a challenge to move and score. We did a nice job there at the end of the first half, and unfortunately weren't able to pick back up in that second half.
Your team last week was really able to answer a physical game, play physical, strong, smash mouth football.
Yeah.
How do you try to reestablish that identity now?
Well, this is a loss. Last week was a win. That was great, and today's a loss. That's not so good. We'll do what we did, a couple of weeks back. We'll go back to work tomorrow, take a look at the film, and see what we can do better. I'll predict this. They're going to go on and win a few games, and they're not bad. And we plan on doing the same thing. So, we'll go back and look at the film, reassess what happened, like we always do, and then try to learn from it. Then we're going to move on, and we're not going to change our identity. We're going to keep just trying to get better at what we do.
With this being the first 2 bye weeks that you have coming up here, do you maybe alter how you go about it because you have 2 of them now as opposed to just having one that you haven't in the past?
If anything, we might recruit a little more in the second bye week and less in this one. That was kind of our plan from day one anyway. The next series of games that we play involve new preparations for us. For the most part, I think all but one. So it really gives us a chance maybe to focus on our team, and then secondly, focus on the teams that we have coming up and emphasize recruiting a little bit more maybe on that second one, but that's about the only change.
You went pretty deep with the receiving core. Talk about how some of the guys stepped up, and how did that impact you maybe not to have Devontae?
Well, it doesn't help, but that wasn't the story of the game, and it just doesn't help. But it gave opportunity for some other guys. Vandenberg did a nice job out there, made some good plays, and that experience of playing will help them against really tough competition.
Is that a leg or a hip?
But most of the stuff we have is either muscle, mild sprains, those types of things. At least as of right now, that's what I'm hearing. So there's nothing really significant other than they've been. Some of these guys have been fighting it for a couple of weeks, and the bye week probably helps out a little bit.
And Mark, is that an ankle?
Yeah, that's a sprain, more of a sprain. So it's again, hopefully he'll be back.
Michigan State was going to take Wiseman out of the game.
That's they were going to make it tough for us to run, no doubt about that, and they did a good job of that. And again, that thing comes as a surprise. But, we have to be able to counter off that a little bit better.
You're at the halfway point of the season. What's the definition of your team, the story of your team at the halfway point in your mind?
Yeah, I told our team, let's not get too global here. We were all pretty happy after the game last week, and we're obviously pretty disappointed right now. So that's how you feel after games, really good or really bad. And we'll come back in tomorrow and go to work. We're going to be 5-1 or 4-2, one of those two things. And it really won't change our approach for the next 6 weeks. So we'll come back and go back to work, see what we need to do better, see what we can do to improve, and hopefully have a great week of practice, and then be ready to go for our next set of games.
The secondary struggle again today. Do you plan any personnel changes or coverage changes, or is there really anything you do?
We gave up some plays. We made some good plays. So we'll just try to play better, and we'll look at the films, and like we do at every position, if we think somebody else can play a little bit better, we'll give those guys an opportunity. But nothing major at this point.
Is it a surprise that this kind of ended up with a game where 90 passes were attempted? A lot of people expected this to be kind of grinded out on the ground.
Oh, yeah, maybe the only surprise to me would be how much they threw it. Because, and not, I say with all due respect, but their quarterback's not as experienced. Not that our guy is, but their quarterback is fairly new. And but he played a really good game today, so you have to give them credit, and they've got to feel good about that aspect, I would imagine.
Coach, did Cook surprise you in some ways? You know, Michigan it's kind of gone back and forth with them and who's the quarterback.
Again, I don't wanna, pretend I'm coaching their team, but, you know, I would think they're pretty happy with the way he performed today. He did a really nice job and, you know, made good decisions, protected the ball pretty well, and, you know, I had one turnover there, and, you know, did a lot of really good things, so they've got to be pleased. And from the outside looking, it looks like they've been high on him for quite some time, and I imagine they got to feel good about the way he led their team today.
What about the dynamic of not just having Ohio State next up on the schedule and the way they played last year, this year, but also having a bye week in front of those two things coming together? Does that give you any thoughts of any kind?
I don't know how much of the dynamics. We're, you know, when you play in our conference, you're going to play good teams, and we have 6 challenging games on our schedule ahead of us, and you know, so that's what I worry about, or not worry about, but concern myself with. And you know, you're going to play good teams, you know, week in and week out in the conference. That's just how it is. So, you know, we knew that when we signed up, and we'll be ready to compete. 2 weeks from now, we'll be ready to compete again.
All right, thanks everyone. Reminder on Tuesday.